thank you all for inviting me and having me at this canvas forum. I'm running for the City Council of Ward 8 because I believe that the ethics that have been displayed by the current or lack of leadership in this city is deplorable. I've never seen or witnessed the kind of crime, and I'm a young person in this city who grew up in Southeast Washington, D.C., and I've seen a little bit of everything. But I don't think that I've ever witnessed the kind of blatant behavior that I've witnessed coming from the Wilson building over the past 4 or 5 years. And so it has made me begin to run for this seat to restore public service, the principle of public service to people in Washington, D.C.
Okay, first question. It appears that developers can get around the district's first source law fairly easily today. How do you propose to address this problem?
The first thing I'd like to take a look at in the first source is why does it use language like 51% of new hires? That's the trick. The first thing I would bring to the table is that it would be 50% of hires. So, for example, where I live in Ward 8, if Thompson or Clark Construction has a project that's going to require 200 employees, they can bring 190 employees from West Virginia, Pennsylvania, from other projects, and then hire 10 new hires, and they would only have to hire 6 people to fulfill that law requirement.
Okay. Second question. For the year 2010, our analysis found that 3/4 of Ward 8 council members' constituent services fund were spent on purposes other than constituents' emergency needs. What is your position on constituent services funds?
I absolutely believe that the money that's raised for the constituent service fund should be used and should be audited quarterly to make sure that people, the constituents, are getting the money that was raised for that intended purpose.
But you do support the constituent services fund's existence?
Absolutely, I think it's important. I live in a community where I get phone calls every day about people's electric and water being turned off, children not having food, shoes, clothes for school. So I think it's very important. I just don't think it should be abused the way that it's being abused.
Because we have a few more things, I just want to follow up a little more time. Are there no other sources of help for those people in the district, or should there be other sources of help for them?
Well, it's interesting. I believe as I look over the budget and look at the social service network in Washington, D.C., I believe that there's enough money to take care of the people's needs, but I witnessed the money being redirected and given to friends and associates and colleagues who, frankly, don't do the work. The community I live in, I've witnessed in the past week 2 barricade situations where people have been held hostage because of gang activity. Currently, there's no, in a ward where we have 30 shootings a week, there's no organization working with gangs that people who are involved with gangs in the community is aware of. In fact, the only organization that we know of is Uptown. It's in Ward 1, and they have no presence in Ward 8. And then when we do the research, we find out that the Director of Human Services has a relationship with the person who runs Oak Hill or DYRS, and that person has a relationship with the organization who gets the funding for gang activity. So it's these kinds of things that need to be broke up.
Okay, one final question. This is the same question I asked other candidates earlier, and that is, can you name a vote by the D.C. Council in the past year that you disagree with?
I'd like to name a non-vote where none of the council members voted for Neil Stanley. Most of them abstained in a ward and in a city where violence is prevalent. We probably have per capita more juveniles being charged with heinous and violent crimes than any city in this country. And when you have a city councilor who would take a lawyer, someone with no experience, and put him in charge of something this important. Obama said that the youth and the way children are treated in this country was one of the most important things his administration would look at. And in the same city where the president resides, we have a mayor and city council who would put a friend in a position of this magnitude, where we have the DC jail is full of 16 and 17-year-olds who've been charged with violent and heinous crimes, and when we go back and look at it, they've not been given proper service. We have 15-year-olds who haven't attended school in 2 years and haven't been seen by a counselor, a social worker, and they're under the care of DYRS. So it's interesting to me that not a council member will vote on
We're
that
out of
position.
town, out of time, I'm sorry. Let's give a round of applause for the